On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, be honest, how many of you turned it off? Don't lie. You know you did. It's okay. And I hope you learned another lesson. Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure you subscribe to our Subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do, we chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. And they are jumping with joy over there. Tonight, we'll get to them a little bit later. But yeah, man, let's just dive right into this thing because I don't know. Like, I want to be happier than I am right now about this win. And maybe I just maybe that's why we do those morning leftover shows for the day after, because right now, like, I do have some like frustration and anger and like, why do we keep doing this? And that's the podcaster in me, but the fan in me was like, oh man, like that was an exciting come from behind win. And I think maybe if the Avs were playing well, like, I mean, and then they're not playing terrible. I don't want to go like down that road so much, but if this game was just like, you've been playing great hockey, winning a lot of games, and then here comes the stinker, and then you came back and won it, be like, oh man, this team is just nothing can beat them. But you've had some frustrating things that have not gone away for the duration of this season. We will talk about the goalies once again, but so it's the frustrating things that have just ailed the Avalanche all season long. And then you get what they're capable of in a, down 4-0, and they reel off 1 in the second, 4 in the third, and win the stupid thing 5-4.
All right. See, and usually we jump right into these podcasts, and this one we sat and kind of just talked a little bit and gave it a little time and came in as level-headed as we possibly could. And even still, I don't know, like, if you want to be upset, you have all the concern in the world and a valid case to do so. But the thing that we have been asking this Avalanche team to do is somebody step up. Somebody, like, the Avalanche going into that second period, down 4-0, with Georgie, we'll get to him. Oh boy, will we get to him. But that's after that first period, they had every reason to just say, okay, it's not our night. Pack it in.
When it was looking like that, man.
Yeah.
Like even in the second, like the way that they were skating was just like they seemed to be phoning it in. Like no energy at all. So they were heading down that road.
And that's exactly the point I was wanting to make. Like, if you scrolled through any social media during that game, the first 2 periods, everybody was calling for everybody's head, justifiably. But in that second intermission, you could tell that Bednar said, no, we're not going out this way. Fix it. And Nathan MacKinnon exploded for 3 points. He's been quiet for better on since Thanksgiving, and he woke up. This team had fire. They had legs. They were making shots. They were crashing the net. They were finally playing defense. Everything cleaned up in the third. And you can also say Buffalo kind of let their foot off the gas, kind of got confident in their first 2 periods and didn't complete the game, didn't play a full 60. There's a lot there, but you love to see this out of an Avalanche team. Maybe this is a turning point for the attitude and machismo and the pecking order on the team, but the first 2 periods were atrocious.
I don't know if Buffalo took their foot off the gas as opposed to the Avalanche stepped on it.
No.
And the turning point, I think, for like the first and second, they were horrible. That first period was god awful.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute, but like, you do get the one in the second period from MacKinnon, the only goal in that period, and it's early. It's early in that period, but nothing else happens in that period. I think when they came out and they get an early one from Kiviranta, just about a minute and change into that period, and now you're only down 4-2, and you got an entire period essentially to play. That is where I think it like the mindset changed of like, this is doable. Okay, now let's reset, and now we're down 2-0, and we have essentially an entire period to play. We can do that, and you saw it change in that moment, and Buffalo just had no answer. And that's the thing. Like, once the Avalanche can get going, but why does it take so long to get going? This is the frustrating thing, because you see, teams struggle. I had the Buffalo broadcast on.
Oh, yeah.
Game. Nothing against the altitude, guys. Just my feed was not coming in well from the altitude. I love the altitude.
I got the same thing, so I feel you.
So, and they, and they're really good announcers in Buffalo. They're homers, but not like insanely crazy homers. Like, they give credit to the opposition, and you could tell, like, they said it multiple times, like, that Buffalo was stopping the Avalanche and their speed. The Avalanche love to use their speed. That's no secret. And Buffalo's doing a very good job of stopping it. But once the tide turned, it was like Buffalo suddenly didn't have an answer for it. And it was just, they were playing on their heels, and the Avs had really good offensive possessions. Buffalo did too. They had some moments that they could have got back, and praise everything holy for Scott Wedgewood, at least in this game. But that was a turning point. The turning point in this game, when it turned, it was essentially late in the game, but it never went back the way of Buffalo. It was Avalanche. And you would think, like, hey, even though they have all this momentum, that's still a tall order, but they got that early one, and it just kept going, and Buffalo didn't have an answer for it.
And, I think the whole team, going into that second period, you mentioned that Nathan MacKinnon goal, and he scored that goal, and Buffalo still was pushing. They were still making shots, and the Avs had to bail themselves out. And up until that second intermission, the Avs gave away 3 power play opportunities, killed them all. They had the controversial goal, the first goal that was challenged. That didn't deter them.
I'll bring that up in a minute too. Yeah.
Yeah, you had all of this going on. And after that one Nathan MacKinnon goal, and they come out with that Kiviranta goal, you gave Buffalo every opportunity to steal this game and put you away. And with one Kiviranta chance, you're halfway there. And it's not that hard to just turn it back on and go. And it felt like the Avalanche literally were at the basement, like the worst performance you could possibly give away, and they're still within striking distance. And that's positive to see. It's good to see, like, because we talk about the construction of this roster and the quality of this roster top to bottom. Even at their worst, you can't rule them out. But see, now the curious thing is, what do they look like going forward? Because this can't be the MO. This cannot be the MO. Things have to shift up and change. But this is a positive spark of life that I haven't seen the Avalanche have really this year.
Yeah, I mean, the goal, was it the first goal I think it was the first goal of the game from Thompson, right? That they challenged, because he got the first two. Or was it the second one?
I think it was the first.
I don't even, I mean, they're so close together. It doesn't matter. One of their first goals. I thought, are we going to be sitting here talking about that? Is the whole goaltender interference thing, is that what's going to be like define this game, even though it was very early in the game when that happened? And just to touch on that, like, and we've talked about goalie interference recently, because the Avalanche have been involved in it on both sides of it. And I hold firm that for the most part, the league and the refs are getting these right. If you go into the crease on your own and there is any contact whatsoever, that goal is coming off the board. And I don't know, like up until now, I've been giving them all the credit and saying like, yeah, they've been getting them right. I don't know why that's a bad call. It's a bad call. He is in the paint and there is contact. I think people maybe have the misconception that like the goalie has to be just like flat on his back or taken out. Maybe that's an extreme, but it doesn't matter. If you lay a finger on him or a glove on him, it should get wiped away. And while the contact was minimal, you saw it in the Florida game with Tkachuk. There wasn't a lot of contact there, but there is contact. Well, and the fact that Thompson went into the paint all on his own and there is minimal contact, a goal happened. That goal should have came off. I'm sorry, I'm not being a homer there because I've been honest about that all season long, and that's the rule, and they've been doing it well this year. And I thought that one was not done well.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily like a terrible, egregious call because of the nature of the shot. Usually that case stands up when it's a shot coming straight on or across crease, side to side. That was coming back towards play off the back of the post, and it was coming backwards. And usually in those instances, like play is reset. Like if there was a tap in there, like you reset it, it's an unassisted play because the play is wiped away. And I feel like in that instance, it was kind of everybody was clamoring for the puck because it was coming back into play. And it's one of those that everybody's going for the puck. And I feel like that wiped it away, and it really didn't impede his progress. It was just, yes, he touched, but that's everybody's going to the same position. Same thing for a loose puck. Just say if Georgie was reaching out for that puck and Tage was coming in, the mere fact that he touched that doesn't mean it's goalie interference. I don't think it's a necessarily bad call. It's just they wiped it away because of the nature of where the puck was going. It wasn't a straight on shot or cross crease interference. It was coming from behind and over.
Well,
and I think that was it.
Well, Thompson got behind him because the puck kind of like went behind the puck. I think like popped up and kind of went behind him, but the contact was made as Thompson is getting behind him. It wasn't while he was parked behind him and then there's some contact there. Well, it was while he's going past him. He kind of rubs him just a little bit, which is enough. I'm sorry. It's the way that they have the rule written, and by the letter of the law, I don't. I mean, we're sitting here talking about it, and it was, I thought it was going to be the focal point of the game, and then the Sabres just ripped off 4 goals, 2 of them with 11 seconds apart, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore because what's the big deal? And then the Avs start coming back, and I'm like, oh man, now I hope it's not the game decider because now we have a whole nother thing that we're talking about with the whole don't even know goaltender interferences anymore. No, we do. And to me, that was, I understand your point. But to me, I just don't do it consistently. You have been, but that one I didn't agree with. So it's
agree to disagree.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Because it also was held up by Toronto that way. If this was just a call on the ice and went away that way, then there was some dispute, but it was also upheld by Toronto. So there's some letter of the law there.
All right, let's get a break in and we come back. You said this yesterday, man. Like when we were talking about this Sabres game, you felt like this was going to be like their turning point of the season. Wow, are you looking into the Magic 8 Ball there for this one?
This is my last one of 2024.
Let's talk about it. Let's get a break in. We'll talk about that on the other side of it. Let us hear from FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win. your first $5 bet. That is over at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. All right, so yeah, I mean, there's always, you can always look back and say like, hey, that was a turning point for a team's season. Is it solely a singular moment? No, I think there's a collection of things, but there's maybe some that like rise a little bit higher on the ranking of, hey, that's when our season really kind of like turned around. Could you like before we went into break, I was saying like you did throw that out on yesterday's episode of going into this game, your first game of your 5-game road trip. You want to start it off on a good foot and really kind of stick it to a team that you should beat. And, you know, it was in kind of epic fashion and a difficult fashion, but you did it. So maybe go ahead to the end of the season if the Avalanche are successful and whatever you deem as successful for a successful season, and say like, hey, what was the turning point? This is a pretty good place to stake the flag, if you ask me.
Well, this is also because it's also, I said, is this a turning point because it could also be a long form turning point and a stretch, because Bednar is obsessed about his stretches of games. This is where it begins, because again, we talk about it all the time on these road trips. This is a bonding session, and that locker room right now, it's got to be a really energetic place. And well, we can start segueing some goalie talk in here. I know we've been pushing it, but you can see how different this team plays in front of Georgie and not. The confidence, the Georgie thing, again, we're done talking about Georgie. I'm done. He's just,
well, no, I mean, we got to talk about him.
He's bad. He's bad. And you can't defend this is too much. It's too much. And you can't keep breaking you talk about like the Avs having a bad first period. The Georgie is in the goal a lot. And you can see the confidence wane. Like, we just had Wedgewood pitch 2 shutout periods and looked incredible, because I was thinking this in the second period. He put out his left pad for a save, just put it out there. And I was like, wow, that felt good. Like, he's doing the bare minimum because Georgie let in 1 5-hole. He was doing like a little, like, he looked like Free Willy. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? What? None of that. I
mean, Wedgewood did that too. Wedgewood did do a snow angel at one point, but it worked,
Wedgewood has a 0, and I know. And Georgie 4 and 8 shots. There's no more defending him.
The thing is, like, you're right in that they play different in front of him, like, but they have to kind of see where he is for that game before they start playing better for it. It's weird. Like, if he can get through half the game and he's only given up 1 or 2, okay, we're in this thing and he's dialed in and we'll be okay. When you get games like this and he lets in half the goals from half the shots he's let in, the total amount of shots he's let in half goals, I think any team is going to be like, oh man, this is going to be a long night. Our guy doesn't have it.
But hold on. This is every time we like pump the tires on Georgie and say how incredible he's playing. When I point out, this is how he looked at the beginning of the season, and he was getting pulled more than he finished games. And this is the exact same way he's playing. It's not just 1. He had just 1 against, it was the Edmonton game. That was it. Everything else, it's
well, I mean, he won the last, I think he had a 5-game run.
We can't do that anymore. We can't.
No, you can though, man. You have to, because that's the part of it. Like that's exactly what I said this entire season is that's what you're going to get from him. You are not getting a day in, day out, game in, game out Connor Hellebuck guy. You are getting a guy that is you don't know what you're going to get. And there are games where he looks good. He does. And there's other games where it's this. And that's what you're going to live with if you're at the Colorado Avalanche. It's terrible. It's not what you want to do if you're a team that you have Stanley Cup aspirations and you have this window that we all love talking about. It is not a goalie that you want. That's not how you want your goalie to play. Does he have good games? Yes. Does he have horrible games? Yes. You've seen it all season long. The bad is there's more bad than good. I will grant you that. But the good games that he has, I don't think you can sit there and be like, well, we just have to hope that we get more of the good games. You're getting more of the bad games from him. And you got to be honest, like going into a game, your mindset is he's probably going to have a rough game. And when he has a good game, you're like, oh my God, he had a good game and good for him. And you're not going out of that game thinking like, now this is the turning point for him. We're talking about the turning point for the team. There hasn't been a turning point for Georgiev. He had a nice little 5-game run, 6-game run. Some of that was, you outscored your opponents. But
a lot of that,
it has been a struggle for him. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's clearly been a struggle for him.
And it's a lot of that is outscoring the opponents because he's still one shot, one goaling, letting in 2 or 3 at a time, abysmal first periods, and the team has to compensate for him. Georgie hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. He's a bad goalie. He's a bad goalie. And the Avs, it's bad on the Avalanche part. Like, the experiment's over. They have to do something to address this because this is not sustainable.
No,
Michael Hutchinson won playoff games for the Avalanche. And where is he? He's not part of the team anymore. You can have good goalies get hot. Like Frankie had shutouts. Eustace had back-to-back. And where is he?
Yeah.
You can't you can't say he had 3 or 4 good games when you just have a night where he had 4 and 8 against the Buffalo Sabres.
That's the problem. Like the Vegas game, great game for him. Fantastic game for him. And it even went into a shootout where he shut him out in a shootout. The Capitals game in Washington, he played a very good game in the Capitals game. Let's see. I just lost the schedule, but where was the Panthers game? That was a 7-4 game. So they just, you had to outscore them. But you're right. Like you have, Lightning, horrible start of the season, horrible. That's what I'm saying. It's more like you go into a game and you're thinking like he's going to have a rough time. And if he doesn't, it's like, oh my God, it's a minor miracle.
Yeah,
you can't have that. You cannot have that as your starting goalie for a team that wants to win a division and win a Stanley Cup. You can't. I'm tired of like polishing these turds all the time and it's not just him. We're talking about the starts for and everybody's loving this game. And I get it because it's a fun come from behind win. But it was horrible. That first period was terrible. I'm tired of going through that too. So yes, you got to fix the goalie problem, and you also got to fix what is going on to start these games problem. Because I can't do this for a full. No. I've been doing it for 2 months. Doing this for a full season is going to be just. Yeah, I mean,
and it's one of those that you're looking at Georgie with the eye test, and you string him up with like he had a good stretch here, a bad stretch here. The deeper you go into stats, the worse it is.
It's terrible.
That's where the bad starts are coming from. The defense, they're doing all they can, but it doesn't matter if he's if he's facing a shooter, he's letting him in. If it's congested, he's letting him in. A 5-hole is you could park a bus in the 5-hole. Like there is no justifiable stat, no eye test. Like you gave me 2 good games from Georgie. We have 10 losses. Well, 12 losses. You just justified 2 of them, and 1 of them they had to outscore it. Like it's not there. It's not there. And you could see like the Avs reacted this way with Juice in net because it was somebody that they can at least have confidence in. And Wedgewood, give the man a Vezina. Like that was 2 good periods, solid saves, playing in his position. Was it flailing? Was it jumping? Was it diving?
Dude, he flailed. He flailed once. That was an epic flail that he had, and it didn't go in, thank God. But
yeah,
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
It happens like it's fundamental levels with Georgie. It's the mental levels. He did the pitching, the fit, like it's
which I'm fine with.
The Georgie thing is,
but yeah,
it has to be addressed if this team wants to do anything.
For Georgiev, he had 5 low danger shots on him, and let in 2. I go right to that when a goalie isn't playing like well. It's is that on defense or is that on the goalie? Where Wedgewood, he played most of the game, 23 low danger shots, 7 medium, 4 high, and obviously didn't land in anything. But what I like about there was a play Wedgewood had, because I just feel like Georgiev is just having a difficult time tracking the puck.
Mm-hmm.
And Wedgewood had a play, 23 low danger shots, so pretty easy to track those pucks. But there was a play late in the game where he made a save and the puck kind of like popped up in the air, and it wasn't in danger of popping up and going behind him and going in the net. But he didn't know that. He didn't know he knew the puck went up, but he didn't know what direction it did. He backed up and put his arms across the crossbar. So that didn't happen. And if it came in front of him, there was a defender there that could have just swiped it away or whatever. But to have that awareness of like, okay, like I'm not going to let this happen. There was a little thing they didn't talk about it on the broadcast. They probably didn't on the altitude side because nothing really came of it. But when I saw him do that, I'm like, he's aware of what is going on. That's hockey awareness. Just to, hey, I don't want that to happen, because those. I've never been a goalie, but I can't imagine like those ones that do that got to be just a gut punch, because you saved it and it just, popped up, went behind you. So to prevent that, it was just like he was resting. He was taking a rest on the crossbar, and that wasn't going to happen. The puck never went near that. It wasn't in danger of doing that. But I liked seeing that. I liked seeing, like he's aware of the situation. It was nice to see.
And after shining all these Georgie turds, like you see that, and like you're just so spoiled, like you're getting Wedgewood tattoos on your knee. Like this is what a goalie's supposed to look like.
Well, you really got to wonder what the Avalanche front office and McFarland and Sakic, those guys are thinking, because look what happened.
Yeah,
like you when you bring in a goalie, you make a goalie swap, and then your team comes back and wins because the guy you brought in keeps you in the game. What are you thinking right now? If you're McFarland, like you got to be thinking like, that's what our team can do. We have to allow our team to be able to do that. And if we don't have a guy in net that can help these guys, there's got to be a move made. But the other question is, Kyle, like, who's going to want Georgiev right now? Like he's not playing enough where a team's like, yeah, we'll take him in. You know what I mean? Like it's tough. You don't have a lot of ammo to shop him around to go bring in a goalie that's better than him, because the dollar amount is not high. He's not playing well. Who's gonna, unless you're just a team that's phoning it in, be like, hey, just maybe a change of scenery type of thing for him. I don't know. And I hate saying it because I like the guy, but it's just not working. It's just too up and down. And imagine, who got the hat tonight? Scott Wedgewood.
How many hats does Georgie have?
Imagine if you're in the locker room right there, and the guy that replaced you is wearing the hat. For that.
It is Nashville Predator pads.
Good. I'm sure he's happy for him, but personally, he's that's a shot to the gut. So. All right, running a little bit long in that segment, but let's get our last break in. When we come back, we'll get to our subtext people. And of course, we have our sound check. So we'll do that right after this. Let's hear from Prize Picks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash, and run your game all season long at Prize Picks. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. So go over to Prize Picks right now. You can download the app and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That code is LOCKEDONNHL, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup over at Prize Picks, where you run your game. All right, let's get to some subtext people here. lots going on over there. Let's see. We'll go. Kyle, excuse me, says this team is a detriment to my health. So sound check for him is bad for me by Megan Trainor. That's kind of what I said. Like, I can't do this for a full season. We kind of did. Avalanche were, the comeback kids.
Oh, yeah.
Last year and years prior, but it takes a toll on you to do this game in and game out. So let's hope that's not something. Let's get over that stuff.
The amount of gray hair I have under this hat because of the burgundy and blue.
Yeah, it's accelerated.
Oh
yeah. Mark says it seems all they needed was one period, which was the third. I hope they get back to playing all three. It's one of those things where you're just like, can we, let's just skip periods 1 and 2. We'll give you, what do you want, a 3-1 lead, 3-0 lead, and let's just play the third period and let's see how it goes. But it's been the second period. The second period has been their best period.
It starts with the foundation, Mark, and you got to build up to that. And the Avs have to catch their feet after a period or two, and it's because of the foundation and where their confidence is.
Yeah. Vargar says, who doesn't love a good comeback? Please, guys, don't anoint Wedgewood as the starter. He's a dependable backup, but at least the team showed signs of life. I get it. I mean, he's probably getting the start next game. I think he has to.
Vargar's right. We need to make him GM.
Yeah. I mean, he is right. Like, Scott Wedgewood is a career backup guy. Like, he's not the guy you're going to lean on. So that's another reason why it's like, I've got to address this. Joe says that was either a really good third by the Avs or a really bad third by Buffalo, and I'm not sure which.
Yes.
I think it was a little bit of both, sir. Yes, the answer is yes. Glad Lecky got in on the action, and it's good to see the Dogs scoring again. Throwing Sick of You by Guar out.
Oh my God.
Check.
I love them. I saw them live for their 30th anniversary.
One of the greatest live bands of all time. Are they still kicking around and touring and stuff or no?
I think they're going to be at that show that we were talking about the other.
Double check that because I think it got canceled. Double check. I don't know. You probably guys have no idea what we're talking about, but I meant to tell you that and I forgot all about it. We'll have to double check that. Okay, never mind. That'd be crazy if they were playing that. Aren't they all like lawyers and attorneys? And,
they're all from
and stuff.
VCU, I think. Yeah,
really. Heather said Wedgewood definitely showed us why McFarland chose him. We will miss Juice, but we needed a veteran goalie with our amazing defense and offensive lines. Now, did either of you turn off the game or no? Heather, we do not turn it. I watched every minute of the dumpster fire season.
Yeah, I was about to say
a 4-0 lead is nothing for me. No way. I don't ever turn off a game.
I watched the entire season with Gabe and Renee Bork.
Yeah. So electrician Ziggy says, just saying, I had a lot of superstitions at playing this game and they all worked to produce a win. Well, why aren't you doing that every single game, Zig?
Oh,
come on, my man. So Adam, Georgie, 4 goals on 8 shots. Wedgie, 0 goals on 22 shots. I don't want to see Georgie back in net till Wedgie has a bad game. I've had enough. I mean, I get what I think Wedgewood's earned the next start. And this is going back to like, oh, do you put Georgiev back out there to get the bad taste out of his mouth? Well, we've sailed that ship how many times? I feel like you have to go with who's played well the most recent game. That's clearly Wedgewood. He's not your goalie for the A1 starter, but he won you that game. Kept you in that game. He kept it at 4. He's your starter for the next game.
I'm getting on Facebook Marketplace and finding a goalie because something has to be done. I am also done with the Georgie experience.
And finally, Lisa says the game taught me to never turn off a game. There you go, Heather. You can yell at Lisa when trailing by 4 after one period of hockey. While a comeback showed grit and determination, the goaltending situation still cannot be ignored. Also, I hope after tonight MacKinnon is back. Well, MacKinnon's really not ever going to go anywhere. He'll have dips.
He was on vacation.
And, yeah, he'll be. He's always just fine. never have any concern that anything is going to be long-term in terms of negativity stuff for Nathan MacKinnon. So, all right, sir, let's get to our sound check. And these songs people are throwing out. We each pick a song that summarizes the most recent game. And these songs go up on a playlist over on Spotify, which you can follow along. And you just search for LOA Soundcheck, volume number 4. This one is, what do you got, sir?
Well, I grew up an angsty, homeschooled, emo skater boy.
Aren't most people who are homeschooled
in
the emo world? Yeah.
Nobody
totally generalizing there. But
nobody understands me. So I would listen to bands much like Comeback Kid.
Why do I know that?
Yeah, they have a song called Wake the Dead.
I gotta go listen to it. I feel like I know the title of the band. Yeah, okay.
They're a great band, and it works both ways. Comeback Kid, great band, and the situation. And Wake the Dead is that second period intermission where you could have rolled over and said, "Yep, not our night." Looked forward and ahead in the schedule to Carolina. You woke up, you got business done, you got a W.
Love it. Yeah, the name sounds familiar, the band name, so I gotta go check that out. But
I think they're in some Tony Hawk games.
Maybe that's where it's from. Yeah, I mean that fits perfectly. It's kind of where I'm going. Is like Heather was talking about. Did anybody turn off the game? I asked the question at the beginning of the episode. Did you turn off the game? Lisa did turn off the game. I'm glad she's honest about it. That's why going with Wilco.
Ooh,
you never know. Pretty simple. We've said, how many times we've said it on this show? It's like, if you haven't learned by now to not shut off an Avalanche game, you never will. It's very difficult to have comebacks in the sport of hockey. I get it. But this team has proven to you, like, they are very capable of doing it. Maybe the way that they've been playing, you didn't think it was going to happen in this game. I totally understand that. But don't turn the game off, people. Don't ever turn it off. Even in a loss, something amazing could happen, and you want to witness that. So that's why you just never know. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my Avalanche bingo card is filled up completely. Every square, 26 games into the year.
And it's not even Hanukkah yet.
No.
So, all right. Let's wrap this thing up, and we'll be back tomorrow. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about with this game and whatever else is going on in Avalanche Nation. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. And you just got through another 24 hours where Sidney Crosby is that much closer to becoming a Colorado Avalanche.
He wouldn't work for that comeback.